Welcome back to the Paidry Creative YouTube channel. Today, we're going to have a lot of fun. We are going to talk about 3 modern marketing tricks exposed. So Paidry Creative does a lot of marketing and strategy for a lot of different brands. We are heavily built into the online business world, and I see a lot of marketing tactics out there. And I also want to throw my hands up and scream at a lot of the marketing tactics out there. Now, if you clicked on this, chances are you think you're going to come across something that makes you go like, I knew that was a scam or something like that. But I think some of what's in here might actually surprise you, because I'm not going for the obvious stuff. I'm not going for the bro marketing, which is annoying in itself. But no, we don't need more people talk. I mean, maybe we do need more people talking about that, but that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about things that you're not even realizing are marketing to you. And maybe once you do, you're going to be kind of like I am, where I'm just like, are you serious right now? I don't know, maybe you'll disagree with me. The thing that I want to have in this space is conversation. I don't need to be right about everything. And I do think that there's nuance in everything. I think there's gray area, and I want to make space for that. I want to make space for different experiences and different conversations. I want us to learn from each other. So if there's something you don't necessarily agree with today, okay, I'm not mad about that. I want to hear from you. Drop into the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review while you're there. I mean, hopefully you give me a thumbs up. You know, I'm a nice person. Like, we don't have to go hard into me if you don't like what I'm saying. I'm here to have a conversation. So today I have 3 modern marketing tricks that I really just want to scream. And if you clicked on the headline here, you're going to understand the first one, which is these clickbaity headlines. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Paige, that's an obvious one, and that's a bro marketing thing, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, no. There's more. There's some nuance here that I don't know if you've realized yet. So maybe you have. Maybe you have seen this, but the more online that I am, especially the more into Instagram that I get lately, what I've noticed is the content and the headlines of the content and the graphics are getting much more clickbaity. But here's the thing. They're doing it in subtle ways. How would I best characterize this? I would tell you that basically what's happening is the headlines are getting incredibly dramatic. And is that really necessary? I mean, it's necessary for engagement. It's necessary for views. It's necessary to stop the scroll. But is what the drama doing really accurate, really a reflection of what's contained within the copy? I mean, everything feels like the thing that will change your life, or the number 1 hack you need to know, or everything else is going to fall apart, or do this or you're a failure. Like, that's what I feel like it's getting into lately. And then the hacks are like, have a morning routine and drink water at 5 a.m. or something like put lemon in your water, or or exercise more. Like, those are always like the hacks to, like, you do this or everything falls apart. Like, it's like, eat a cucumber, or or like keep a journal, or hey, you should probably do some cold outreach along with your warm outreach, along with your social media posts. Like, everything is like the number 1 secret to this. And it's all these very clickbaity headlines that aren't your typical clickbait, right? Your typical clickbait is really sensational. I wouldn't call these things, these headlines, these engagement getters, I wouldn't call them sensational, but I would call them dramatic and over the top. And there's a purpose in that. It is getting more and more difficult to get people's attention online these days. And so many businesses are built online, and the online businesses are heavily dependent on sites like Instagram in order to get their reach, in order to get people into their services or programs. And I'm not mad about that. Instagram for a long time has been the number 1 way that I fill my services. I'm not mad about marketing online, but I am really like, God, I'm so tired of it. Aren't you tired of like every other post is like, do this or everything falls apart. Do this or everything fails. Here's the number 1 secret to this. Here's the number 1 trick to this. Aren't you tired of that? Do you really need that many tricks and secrets and like, do we need it? No, we don't. Can't we just have content that's just content? Can't we just sit down and talk? Can't we relax just a little bit? The reason that I am calling it calling this video Modern Marketing Tricks Exposed is like, I feel like this is a marketing trick. But of course, the headline on this video right here, saying exposed, like the whole point was to make it clickbaity. I want to prove a point is that there's nothing in this video that is wildly sensational. I do think there will be some surprises, but I just want to kind of get you thinking and make people more aware and more conscious of like what we're consuming, because this leads us into number 3, these clickbaity headlines that don't read as clickbait. They're dramatic without being sensational. All of the dramaticness here, it leads us down kind of this path that to me is a little more insidious. And this is where I'm getting to is number 2. Number 2 is you're being polarized without you even knowing it. Now, a lot of times when we talk about polarization, it's easy to tell what people are polarized over. I mean, we're polarized in a lot of different ways right now. But there are a lot of ways in which marketers are polarizing you and you don't even fully realize it. I didn't fully realize it for a long time until I had a moment. And this was actually about 2019. And I have never shown up and said this before, but this is something that has bugged me since 2019. And I see it all the time, and I'm going to give you an example. But marketers are trying to subtly polarize you because they want to get an emotional reaction out of you. So they take these topics that really aren't polarizing, but they use the clickbaity headlines to make them seem like they're big, important deals, that they are incredibly polarizing. And it's just so... You don't have to choose a side. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, because you might be fishing around in your head being like, what is she even saying? Here is my favorite way that people polarize you. And I see this a lot in the coaching industry. Here is one way that you are getting polarized by coaches and you don't know it yet until I'm about to point it out to you. So in 2018 and 2019, I was heavy into education for a while, and I'm really proud of all the education that I've ever put out there. And I don't do it anymore. It's not because of things like this. It's just because it was time to wrap my programs and move on. And I just wanted to get back into more services. I didn't want to be in education all of the time. I didn't want to be constantly filling programs. I wanted to be out there taking photos, and that's just where I am right now with my work. So I noticed this though. When I was doing education, I really wanted to educate creatives and photographers, especially about the fact that like you can and should have a profitable business. You can and should run a profitable business. And here's the thing: if you're not making profit, you are not running a business. That's just accurate. You have to be running a profit in order to be running a business. Otherwise, you've got a hobby that's putting you into debt. So with that in mind, I was really big on showing up and trying to make people aware of that, because I would see a ton of photographers who would undercharge for their services, which ultimately undercuts the market, devalues our services altogether. And then it's hard to grow out of. If you start by undercutting and undervaluing, it's hard to get out of that. And I've seen it burn out and ruin a lot of photography businesses. So I talked about it a lot. I'm like, you got to charge your worth here, man. You got to know what you bring to the table, and you got to set a profitable price around it. And then you got to stick to that. And around 2019, and that wasn't just, I wasn't the first person to say that. I'm not going to be the last person to say that. And a lot of people were in that kind of headspace at the time saying, yes, charge your worth, know your worth. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then the conversation started to shift. I started seeing coaches showing up and saying, don't say charge your worth. What you need to do is charge your value. Look, I understand that in the conversation at large, there's a difference between worth and value. People are saying, don't say charge your worth, because worth means personal worth. And you need to look at value, the value that your business brings to the table. That's what you should be looking at, the ROI that you can bring people. That's what you should be charging for. And okay, fair enough. But here's the thing. If I say charge your worth or charge your value to somebody, they're going to take the same message home. Either way, they get it. Because there's no real meaningful difference between those two. There might be a literal difference, and you're going to drop it in the comments and be like, no, here's the thing. Fine, whatever. Do whatever you want to do. I don't care. But what I'm saying is the coaches there, I saw a lot of coaches push hard into don't say value, only say worth, blah, 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 blah. And none of that matters. either way you talk about it, people get what you're saying and they take the message home. And there's no confusion there. Colloquially speaking, like it's all fine, it's all the same. But then the coaches show up and they start to push. You can't say charge your worth, you have to say charge your value. And they're pushing you, polarizing you. They're pushing you more into their corner or making you choose a corner, charge your worth or charge your value. You're either with this coach or this coach, and neither coach is inherently like bad or wrong. Like everybody is aligned with who they're aligned with, but it is a method of polarizing. It's subtle and it ultimately means nothing, which is the thing that bugs me, but it is a way of polarizing people and doing it by starting with these clickbaity headlines and then pulling you into these polarizing methods, because it gets an immediate emotional reaction from you. The people who are having trouble with the profit, when you say, well, that's because you've been charging your worth and you need to be charging your value. That's what your problem is. People go, oh my God, that's what my problem is. You fixed it. And you get that immediate emotional reaction. But the problem is like, you actually haven't fixed anything for anybody. Like the message hasn't changed. The message is the same. And their problem is still the same. They've only found a temporary relief from that because they think that what you're saying is now something revolutionary and different when it absolutely is not. So clickbaity headlines are the thing that just bug the crap out of me. And they pull you into these polarizing things that polarize you over things that don't actually mean anything, that mean nothing. And they make it seem like it means everything. And then people go, oh my God, this is my person. I have to follow this person. And for what? For what are they really giving you? What are they really saying? What are they really doing? Because it's framed in a way as though it's revolutionary, but is it? Did it really change anything from you to go from charging your worth to charging your value? Did that really clarify anything? Did you really not understand before that you needed to pick a price point that was profitable and in line with what you bring to the table? I think you did. But hey, man, I could be wrong. I could be wrong because I don't know everything. Nobody does. And again, we're open to conversation here. So number 3, it's a little bit of what I'm doing right now. But again, like I don't need to be right about everything all of the time. I see this is a new trend that I've kind of seen lately is these accounts pop up that really purport to be call out culture and then truth teller culture over marketing practices, kind of like what I'm doing right now. Well, exactly what I'm doing right now. The difference is I don't mind that. I don't mind people calling out marketing practices, but here's the thing is while they're doing that and they're getting your attention and they're doing it with the clickbaity dramatic headlines, they're still marketing to you. If what they're doing sells you something at the end, and I want to be clear, like by the way, I'm not selling you anything today. I'm making this video because this stuff bugs me. But if what they're doing is like connecting the content that's got the clickbaity headline, the polarizing over nothing, and the calling out things like these are poor marketing practices, but what they're really just doing to you is using all of that to market something to you, and they're not even going to point that out. They're not even going to point out the irony there. That's a red flag to me. And then I something specific, even more specific that I've seen in accounts that do this is they then say things like, I saw a post recently from somebody that was like, all of the grossest marketing tactics I saw in 2022. That's a cool, you know what? That's a cool post. I was down in, and I agreed with, I think at least 8 of the 10 things that they called out. I actually agreed with all of them, but I did think that there was room for some nuance and conversation there. But you get to the last slide and it says, red flag number 10. If anybody tells you that these aren't red flags, then that's the red flag and you shouldn't listen to them. That had major culty vibes for me. If, right, if they're coming along and they're saying, well, I'm right about this. And if anybody says I'm not right, they're the ones that are wrong. They're the ones that you should point at and side eye, right? They don't leave, like those accounts don't leave any room for conversation. They don't leave any room for nuance. There's no gray area. It's all black and white. And that's its own whole red flag, right? So clickbaity headlines, polarizing you over things that don't actually mean anything, and marketing to you by tearing down other marketing without telling you that they're marketing. Side eye. Like, are you like that doesn't feel right to me. And I think it's time that we talk about it. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay. Tell me what you think below. Tell me what you think in the comments. Really curious if you hate what I said, if you feel good about what I said, if you were waiting for somebody to say that, if you are surprised by it, or you just see a bunch of nuance and you want to talk about it. I want to know. Please jump into the comments. Do all the other stuff. I hope you keep following us here. If that feels good to you, if you hated everything I said, maybe I'm just not the place, and that's okay too. All right. Thanks for being here. Have a good week.